Okay, the first step you want to take when working with the tarot cards is to ground and protect. This is a step that you should take before doing any spiritual or magic work. So what I usually do is I visualize a cord extending down from the base of my spine into the core of the earth. I visualize it tethering to different crystals, and then I visualize a green light, the energy of Mother Earth, rising up that cord, up my spine, and then extending out from my spine. I imagine a huge oak tree. That's what represents solid strength for me. You can choose whatever tree you want. I then visualize a crystal bubble surrounding me, and then I call forth the light from source energy, God energy, golden white light washing down over my energy field, clearing away any impurities, clearing away any fear or insecurity that stand in the way of my divine power. And that is how I ground and protect. The other important aspect of protection is to get really clear on who you are summoning to help you in this practice. So I always summon Source, Mother Earth, and God energy. That way I know I'm dealing with beings of the highest love and light. If you want to work with your ancestors, make sure you're specifically saying which ancestors or ancestors that have your highest and best good in mind. Not all ancestors are highly evolved or wish your highest and best good, right? So when we're calling forth energy or beings, we want to make sure we're summoning those who have our highest and best good and the highest and best good of all beings in mind. Once you have done your grounding and protection, you've called forth universal energy and Mother Earth energy, or whatever you feel inspired to call in, now you're ready to begin. So the next important step is setting an intention. What is your intention for this session? For me, I always start with the intention of I want to be a vessel of God's love, of hope and inspiration in the world. So that's kind of my major intention. Maybe I'm doing a reading for myself to look at my own mental health. So my intention may be to cultivate greater mental calm or awareness. If I'm doing a reading for somebody else, I'll set the intention that I want to be of the highest service to this soul, to give them whatever message or guidance will best help them along their journey. And I, of course, call forth source energy to tell me how to best articulate that for them. So setting the intention of what it is that you're wanting to gain from this reading and the experience that you're going to have is also a very important step. Step 3 to working with the tarot is cleansing your cards. So this is a very intuitive practice, working with the tarot. So you want to trust your own intuition. When you're touching the cards, how do they feel? Do they feel high vibe? Do they feel like they've got a lot of mucky energy? Do they feel weird or off? Maybe they have a really good energy from a reading that you did previously and you want to leave that energy there, or maybe they just feel like stagnant. Maybe you haven't worked with them in a while. So there's a couple different ways you can cleanse your cards. Obviously, smoke cleansing is one way. I'm a big fan of smoke cleansing, especially if it's a new deck. Smoke is a very powerful cleanser. If I'm doing readings at an event or at a friend's house, somewhere public, not everybody likes the smell of smoke. So I will do a room spray. This one has lavender and frankincense essential oils, and it's also bottled with full moon water that I harvested, I should say. I didn't harness the rain. And so that also is a really nice way to cleanse the cards. Another way you can cleanse the cards is to knock on them. This is one thing I'll do as well if I'm kind of on the go. Just knock on them. Helps to break up some of the energy that they may be holding. And then, I'll just kind of give it a shuffle, just breaking up that energy. Another way is to just kind of hold them in your hands and visualize a golden light or a green light if it's extending from your heart chakra. Visualize a light of cleansing energy surrounding and engulfing the cards and infusing the cards with the energy you wish them to have. So those are some different ways that you can cleanse the cards. Once you have cleansed your cards, it's time to shuffle and connect with the cards. So obviously there's all kinds of different shuffling techniques. Again, using your intuition to feel when they're shuffled. But you also want to connect with your cards. So if it's a new deck or it's a deck you haven't worked with in a while, you want to make a connection with each of the cards because this is a relationship that you're building. So another way that I like to shuffle is like this, because maybe I'll put a couple over here, 3 over here. There's a few different ways you can shuffle, but when I'm doing this, I am making a connection with each card. I'm making eye contact with it. I'm looking at the imagery. I'm also touching it and infusing it with my energy. This is really good for when you are repeatedly drawing the same card over and over. Sometimes repeat cards are a part of your message and you need to hear it, but sometimes repeat cards just mean that that card has been drawn a number of times, it's got energy on it now, and you're just going to gravitate towards it more. So one of the ways that you clear out the repeat card energy situation is by doing this shuffle, making eye contact with the cards, infusing it with your energy. Now all these cards have my energy. I'm looking at them, connecting with them. This is a relationship, you know? They want to feel seen. They want to feel a part of my healing journey and my spirit work. So that is how you shuffle. This 10 of Swords keeps wanting to come up. That's how you shuffle and connect. And the other important part of connecting with the cards is if there are cards that trigger you, like that 10 of Swords might trigger people, then sitting with it, working with it, talking to it, visualizing the card, you know, what message do you have for me? What lesson do you have to teach me? That is an important thing to do when working with triggering cards, because every card is an archetype. It has a healing message. It plays an important role in our human story and our human experience. So if there's a card that is triggering for you, working with it, asking it what its lessons are. So that's all an important step in shuffling and connecting with your cards. Step 5 in working with the tarot cards is you want to ask empowering questions, right? We're not giving our power away to the cards. We're not expecting them to tell us how our life is going to play out. We want to use them as a tool for empowerment, for hope and inspiration, for healing, to enhance our free will. So we want to ask empowering questions, not yes or no questions. Is this relationship going to work out? Well, that is really difficult because that's a yes or no answer. And the answer could be really disempowering, right? It could cause you to lose faith in that connection or to start to really spiral out of control with anxiety or fear. So we want to ask empowering questions. What is it that I need to know about this situation? How can I best bring my energy and my gifts into the situation? You don't want to ask questions that focus on other people, unless you're doing a reading for somebody else. If you're doing a reading for yourself, you can always ask, what is the energy of this person right now that I need to know? Because I feel like that's the energy that you would pick up if you were to be standing across from the other person. Our kind of first impression is available for all to see. So when you're asking about the energy of the other person, you're kind of just asking for that first impression. That's okay. But if you're diving deeper into what are they thinking about right now, what are they doing in the situation, then we start to cross into violating people's personal boundaries. So we don't want to go too far into the energy of other people. We're focusing on ourselves, the influence that we have in our life, the choices that we make, and how we want to grow. Okay, if you're doing a reading for somebody else, then you're focusing the energy and the questions around that person. You're not letting that person ask all these deep questions about other people. Again, beyond just their basic energy, possibly their influence in that person's life, we're not violating boundaries. So that's a really important aspect too. Empowering questions such as, how can I heal and grow from this? What can I best learn from this? Making sure that the question that you're asking is going to give you agency in your life. It's going to give you the influence that you want to have in your life. You can definitely look at outcomes. Sometimes I'll look at outcomes in terms of, if I continue on this path or based on the current trajectory, what is the outcome? But even if the outcome seems scary or negative, I try not to take that as absolute truth. I'll take it with a grain of salt, or I'll ask a follow-up question. I want a different outcome. I want an outcome that is more hopeful or empowering. What can I do to change myself or my own choices to manifest that outcome? So we're not giving too much power away to the cards to determine your life and your happiness. We don't want to have a codependent relationship with the cards. They're really just meant to be tools for empowerment that you can work with, that are an extension of or a reflection of yourself. Okay, so something important to remember when working with the tarot cards, as I mentioned previously, is this is an intuitive practice. And I'm kind of adding this step after the fact, so disregard the step numbers. This is like step 5A or B. So studying the tarot is great for using our logical, analytical side, right? We can lay out all the different suits. We can study the different card meanings, right? What they represent, what kind of archetypes they symbolize, and that's great. When I was first learning the tarot, I did a lot of like logical analysis of what all the cards meant and took notes and studied them. That is the time to use your logical, analytical brain. However, when you're in the middle of a reading, you do not want to use your logical, analytical brain. That is going to block your intuition from communicating with you. That is going to have you second guessing yourself, getting way too in your head, way too in your anxiety. This is an intuitive practice. So once you're in the reading, you want to forget everything you've learned. And when you're asking a question, you want to pay attention to whatever first comes to mind. So maybe the first thing that comes to mind is what the Hermit symbolizes, right? The Hermit symbolizes solitude or lighting the path for others. If that's what comes to mind, the meaning of the card, then that's fine. However, you also want to look at the card and allow the messages to come through. So perhaps your attention will be drawn to this owl. Maybe this owl is speaking to you about cultivating greater wisdom, or that the person or situation in question is someone that will bring wisdom, right? Perhaps what you're drawn to is simply the image of the campfire. Maybe that means that person needs to go on a trip. If they have a camping trip planned, maybe that will literally come through. Maybe it means that they need to tend to their own inner spark. So the message that may come through might not actually have anything to do with the card itself. That's okay. Pay attention to where your attention is drawn to in the card and the messages that come through for you. That's one thing I really like about this deck in particular. It's the Everyday Witch Tarot. I love decks, oracle decks and tarot decks that have a kind of storybook imagery, because there's lots of points on the card that my attention can be drawn to, which allows me to cultivate, greater messages. So maybe in this card, the Tower, I'm drawn to the smirk on this person's face. So maybe I see this destruction of the tarot card as something that they willingly brought on because they were wanting to go through a transformation. Maybe I'll be drawn to the cat under the bushes and how scared they are of this process. And maybe it means sitting with the fear of the uncertainty of coming change. So always paying attention to the image itself and where your attention is being drawn to, what you're fixating on, and whatever messages or images come up, and letting go of the logical brain, the part of your mind that wants to tell you, well, that's not what this card means, right? Step 6 in working with the tarot is recognizing when your question has been answered and when the reading itself is complete, right? This is important when we start to second guess or we're craving more information. So let's say I want to have some information about career. What next step can I take to earn more money in my career? Okay. So I'm pulling a card, Ace of Swords. So the next step I may need to take is to do some more research, see what kind of skills I can acquire. Maybe I need to communicate. Maybe I need to ask for a raise. That's just one example. I might say, okay, where might this source of new income come from? Okay. 8 of Wands, hustling, putting in the work, working hard, right? And then I might ask another follow-up question. Okay, well, what do I need to do to work hard? And I could keep asking, right? And there's a perfect example of recognizing when the reading is final. This is kind of a message that I'm interpreting as, from my guides, stop asking questions. We've kind of told you the next steps you need to take. And now you're spiraling into asking too many questions. Like your question has been answered, just let it go. That's kind of the intuitive message that I'm receiving from that. Again, listening to your own intuition as far as if you need to dive deeper and ask more questions, but then also recognizing when Your question's been answered. Your guides are lovingly telling you that they're not going to give you any information right now. You just have to figure things out. This is your free will. This is your journey. Recognizing when the reading is final, and to not keep asking and keep prying and keep digging, because then you're starting to give your power away. Then you start to spiral into anxiety. Make peace with the answer that you've been given and trust that it is the answer that you really need to help you on your journey, and the rest will come with time. You're just going to have to figure it out. Okay? So that is another aspect of working with the tarot, is just recognizing when you've got all the answers that you're going to get for now, even if that may be frustrating at times. And, being grateful, expressing gratitude for the wisdom that you've been given, and trusting in the process that you will receive further information when it's in divine timing. Another important aspect of working with the tarot for your own healing and empowerment is recognizing when you are either A, not in the right headspace to be consulting the tarot, or B, the tarot is just not your medicine right now. This is how we maintain a healthy relationship with the tarot. We don't want to create a codependent relationship. We don't want to give our power away. So sometimes if we are doing a reading, this will happen to me sometimes. If I'm in a state of exhaustion or fear, if I'm feeling triggered by certain insecurities, right, I'll be doing a reading and the energy that I'll get is just one of chaos, of confusion. That's how I know that I am not in the right headspace. I am too deep in the fear space. I am giving the power away to the cards because I'm just so desperate for an answer to resolve my uncertainty or to make me feel better, and it's just not happening. So it's important to recognize when you're not in the right space, the energy that you're getting is not hopeful, it's not empowering. You need to take a step away. Also recognizing when the tarot is just not your medicine at that moment. Maybe the medicine that you really need is to get some rest, to drink some water, to meditate, to go for a walk, to spend time in nature, to spend time with loved ones, to phone a friend if you're in a crisis and you're really having a hard time, right? Reaching out and connecting with someone that you trust with whatever your concern is. So being able to recognize when the tarot is not a tool for empowerment at that moment. It's just mirroring your mental state, which isn't good. You're imbalanced, or when it's just not the medicine that you need. The final step in working with the tarot for healing and empowerment is to write down your reading in a tarot journal, save it on your phone. Take time to really process the messages that you received, write about it, reflect on it, think about what next steps you want to take regarding the situation that you were consulting. So I have this in-person physical journal that I use, and it's funny because in the flap I wrote empowering questions only, and in here I'll keep a record of certain readings that I did. I don't use this as much anymore because a lot of times I'll do readings on the go. So I actually save my readings on my Google Drive. I'll take a picture of the cards and then I'll upload it to a Google Doc, and I will write the question and I will write kind of anything that comes through. That way I can access the reading from wherever I am through my phone. But taking time to really integrate the message that you received, to meditate on it, journal about it, reflect on it, and think about what next steps am I going to take with this information that I've been given? Sometimes we'll just get the message and then we'll go about our busy day and not really process the wisdom that we received. And sometimes too, saving a copy or a picture of your reading is helpful because you may not be able to access all the wisdom from that reading. Maybe you got flooded with a lot of different intuitive nudges, and it may take some time for you to integrate that information for other aspects of the reading to become available to you or to make sense. Sometimes card readings make sense as time goes by. So going back and looking at the reading pertaining to a certain situation or question can also be a part of your healing journey. So I hope you all found this helpful. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to share in the comments below. And I also do astrology and intuitively guided readings. I sometimes incorporate tarot and oracle into my sessions. So if you want to do a session with me, you can find me at whitewolfmystic.com. Take care.